you know, some very good horses will come out of this race.
So Gordo for myself, Gary Willits and Simon Marshall here in the first. Grand Falls and Jenny Chapman and John Letts have gone for Ed, put it in the top selections along with Tasamba. No?
No, mine was actually number 8, Road to Dance.
Okay, so Road to Dance, but you've got that horse in with a chance, Grand Falls, haven't you?
Oh yes, and if it wins, I'll take that.
Yes. Jenny Chapman having $1 each way as Gordo goes to the gates. Let's have a look at the totes for the Amy Victoria Derby a little bit later on today and see if there's been any move. Well, that's a bit more like it, $2.10 used to not, but he's still pretty short.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Yeah, it'd be interesting a little bit later on, see how the track races first off. If they're sitting up on the speed or whatnot, you'll probably see Viscount firm a little bit later, Pete.
So $4.70 for Viscount, and he has trimmed up. Amalfi's trimmed up at $5.50. And you can see that Sakan Damon, the horse of Gay Waterhouses that won the Derby trial, was in the betting at 13. And Tully Zeal, the one that Simon gave a bit of an outside hope to, is also at good each way odds. The Backs Factor's an interesting runner.
He's actually come in a bit too. I think he was 80 to 1 early, Pete.
And he's a big flashy horse.
Big flashy horse, and did it hard too last start. I thought he wasn't without the roughest third place chance.
Yeah, no, he's got a bit of toughness about him, Jen, and it's not a big field too, so, you know, he might have a little bit of luck.
Now, over by the start, John Letts, as these runners are about to move in for the first, will the jockeys talk to each other and work out exactly what they're doing early?
I don't think so much, Peter. In group races, it's very hard to get your opposition's thoughts, Simon, isn't it?
Very much so, yeah. Well, it's probably not a bad thing to ask whether you're going to lead or not, because if they say one thing, you know they're going to do completely the opposite. So you will get an answer. But Johnny, what they're probably doing here, as you know, they've got their top 5. Every jockey's got these top 5 hardest to beat. He'll be just browsing over their colours, understanding where they're going to be and what barrier positions they're going to be. And when they bounce out of the gates and they go 100, Jen, they'll sort themselves out pretty quick.
Simon and John, when you come to riding in the big races like the Melbourne Cup, the Derby, the Oaks, those sort of races, do the nerves change?
I think the build-up's a little bit different in terms of the nerves, but once you get on your horse in the mounting yard, it's just like another race.
It's another race, Simon, isn't it? It really is. And people ask you, you know, do you make a plan when you go out in races like Melbourne Cups? But it's no good going out with a plan in a Melbourne Cup, because Melbourne Cups all run differently, aren't they, Simon? And you just can't go out. And if your first plan fails, what do? You go to the second one, and if it fails, you don't have a third one. So, you know, I spoke to young Kieran McEvoy before he went into the barrier last year in barrier 24, and he said, what would you do? I said, let it happen. Just let it happen.
Actually, what about that split second after the line? You know, you got the Kachinkas and it jumps in.
Well, that's a bit different.
Got the cash.
Sorry, that's a bit different, Simon.
Kachinkas, cash, all the same thing. It's all currency. Now they're moving into the stalls for the first here. Time to head up to the commentary box right above the thousands of people here at Flemington, the men with the best view in the house. We've already caught up with Dan Malicki a bit earlier, and it's time to say good morning to Gary Willits, former champion jockey. G'day, Gaz.
Yeah, good morning, Peter. Good morning, everyone. This track is fantastic, Dan. I had a walk on it, and it's really firm. Should run really well. Run a record, I reckon, some of these races today.
It's one of the best tracks that we've had on Derby Day for a long time.
Yeah, gee, I like the look of the 2 Gordo. I thought his run was enormous at Caulfield. He ran all over the track and was still able to win. Notice he's got a hanging bit on today. That'll most probably keep him a bit straighter. Thought the 3 Grand Falls ridden by Damien Oliver had no luck at all at Caulfield. Very good run there. Bit unlucky. The other one was the 8 Road to Dance, trained by B. Murray, ridden by Brett Treble. Brett will be looking for a winner, Dan. He's had a bit of a run of outs, but he seems to really shine here at Flemington and rides this track very well.
His book of rides today, he seems to have a horse that's got a good chance in virtually every race today. Probably in the Derby is his long shot because he's on a 50 to 1 hope, but his book is very strong.
Yeah, got some very good rides, and as we say, he does ride this track well. Well, the last one's going in, so good calling, Dan.
And good luck to everyone viewing on Network 10. Gordo, the favourite in the All Cerise colours, second from the outside. We're all off the way. Racing in the first. A little bit slow to begin. Mr. Greg missed it about 3 lengths and resoundingly out the back with Don Eduardo in the early part. Gordo's got about 4 or 5 behind it in the early stages. All Courage and presently 2 of the best to begin. Presently almost pulling its way to the lead. Grand Falls is up 3rd and 4th on the inside Road to Dance. Then Jar Jar Binks, who is 5th, and 6th on the inside to Samba. Around it the grey filly Just a Believer. Then Beresney in the white sleeves, white cap on the rails about midfield. Next is Gordo travelling wide. Sir Joro in the centre. The third last present resoundingly. A length away, Don Eduardo, and 2 lengths away, Mr. Greg. 1,000 metres to travel, and presently in front, one of the outsiders. A length and a half to All Courage, who wants to over-race a bit, getting his head up. Have to shift off the fence there. Grand Falls just checked off at a length away. Jar Jar Binks was handy, and Gordo's wider out. Just lost a length or so there, Gordo, but he's out 3 deep, running 7th, so he's doing it pretty tough. Road to Dance has had a beautiful run. To Sambas in the green colours tracking it on the rails as they rounded the home turn. Then Just a Believer resoundingly. Sajoro taken out wider as they turned for home, and then Berezny, Don Eduardo and Mr. Greg turning into the straight at the 500, and presently is in front of All Courage. Slapped up Road to Dance. Wider out Grand Falls. Jar Jar Binks. Gordo's hanging in. Don Eduardo down the outside. Then to Samba held up in traffic. It's All Courage going to the lead. Road to Dance switches out from behind. Gordo still running on. All Courage a length and a half in front of Road to Dance, Berezny, and then Gordo, but it's All Courage the leader from Road to Dance, and Gordo late, but All Courage is holding them, and All Courage wins the first. All Courage has beaten Gordo and Road to Dance. Berezny was a good run, and they were followed by Mr. Greg, who made ground. Grand Falls, Don Eduardo presently, Jar Jar Binks to Samba disappointing, and then Just a Believer resoundingly, and Sir Juro.
Yeah, well, All Courage down had a lovely run ridden by Jim Cassidy. I thought Road to Dance had a little bit of trouble getting clear on the fence, but when he got in the clear, well, All Courage was just too good on the day. Lovely run, and ran 1:35.1, so it just shows you how good this track is.
And the track record is 1:34. So big odds winner, ridden by Jim Cassidy. Horse just, he looked like he was starting to over-race at about the 600. Jim got off the fence, and I think the horse really relished that. He got to the line strongly. Gordo, he'll be a better horse in 6 months' time,
Definitely.
you would think.
He had no luck at all on Gordo. If you backed him, he was trapped 3 and 4 wide most of the way. Couldn't get to the fence at all. But he did run home okay, and I thought Road to Dance was a nice run.
6, 2 and 8 are the numbers, and 4th in was Berezny, an eye-catching 4th, number 11, and 5th in Mr. Greg, likewise, the rank outsider running 5th.
Yeah, well, here's All Courage, as you can see. He's going to the line. Jim Cassidy just waving a stick at him. The one following home in the Bede Murray colours and the yellow, blue, purple cap, and then Gordo and the Cerise on the outside. They've both worked home very well, but as you said, all the honours with All Courage. Jimmy Cassidy just let him slide, and he sort of dodged a lot of trouble there, I thought, Dan.
And Gordo, he got back, he was close enough on the turn, but he did sit 3 wide, Gary. Yeah. He did duck in at about the 250. There's signs of not a fully mature horse, but he must have a big motor because he's done all these things wrong and still got so close.
He did all the hard work, and it's very hard to sit 3 wide on a track as fast as this. You can get away with it on a slower track or something, or heavy. Doesn't seem to matter, but when they're running these kind of times, gee, it makes a big difference.
And it'd be important for Jim Cassidy to have a much better spring carnival, because he's been in the news for all the wrong reasons from his side of the story. Rode the Werribee Cup winner during the week, starts off the carnival winning the Carbine Club with All Courage, so it couldn't be a better start for Jim, and I reckon if there wouldn't be a keener jockey out there at the moment.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I was talking to Jim before the day, and he's as keen as one thing, you know. I went down and congratulated him on his Werribee Cup win. That was very good.
So he's back in the good books, but punters might take a little while to warm to it, Peter Donegan, because he was at about $20 odd.
Yes, it's amazing for Jimmy Cassidy too that you can set the tempo, Gary. I'm sure you'd agree. To get that first winner on Derby Day often gives the jockeys a great deal of confidence, gets their tail up, and they ride well for the rest of the day and the rest of the carnival.
Oh, definitely, Peter. Look, there's nothing like getting that first ride, and to get a winner, gee, it's a great feeling. And oh, look, I used to love riding here. You go down that race, as Letzi will tell you, or Simon Marshall, and that buzz you get off that crowd is quite incredible.
Well, let's join the winning trainer, Lee Friedman. He's down with Mark Aston.
Thank you very much, Peter. Lee, first time on a good track for a while.
Well, he won first up from a long spell on a firm track 6 or 7 weeks ago, and all we've struck ever since is wet tracks, which he doesn't handle. And today we knew we had him as fit as we could possibly have him, and it was just a case of whether, you know, the firm track made the difference. And Jimmy rode him well too, that helped.
And I guess the other query was the journey, which he had no problem with.
No, he's bred to run a bit of a trip. A lot of these Dan Zero line horses, unlike their father, all want a bit of ground. So I wouldn't be surprised if he could probably get a bit further than that too.
So the Sandown Guineas, maybe?
I think so. I think we give him his chance on a soft track. On a firm track. A soft track we probably wouldn't run.
Thanks, Lee. Well done. Good to see you smiling.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Lee. Thanks, Pete.
Yes, he's had plenty of reason to smile. He's having a great season, Lee Friedman, and starting off the big day, the biggest day of the year as far as quality racing is concerned here in Australia, with All Courage number 6, ridden by Jimmy Cassidy, taking out the money in the first from number 2, Gordo, ridden by Darren Gauci. And as the boys have already said, he'll be a better horse probably in 6 to 12 months' time. Still got a bit to learn about the caper. Road to Dance, number 8 in 3rd placing. 4th home, Beresney, number 11, pretty good run. And 5th home, the rank outside at number 14, and that was Mr. Greg. Time, all important, 1:35.1. So, as the boys have said, just 1.1 seconds outside the record. And I thought he did a pretty good job, that horse, Jen, because he did over-race around about the 600.
Yes, he did, Peter, but I think the key to All Courage is definitely the dry tracks, because you look at his last run at Caulfield over the 1400, and that was on a slow track, and it didn't suit him. So, yeah, a good win and a nice horse too.
So, ring-a-ding-ding, Pumpa's king again.
He was the king Wednesday at Werribee, Pete, and he's the king in the first, the Carbine Club. Well done, Jimmy.
And look at him, he's pretty happy too, and I think that might emphasise the point that we were talking about before. Let's see, get off to a great start, and then all of a sudden the confidence just goes through the roof.
The adrenaline is there straight after for Jimmy now, and we get it with Brett Preble for a couple of seasons, didn't we, at the Carnival, and it really worked for Brett. It'll work for Jimmy this time.
So the first is over, we've still got 8 to go, and we've still got 4 fantastic days of racing to go. Jimmy Cassidy takes All Courage to victory in the first. Back with the dividends after this.
First they...
Riders on the scales now, and the rider of Beresney, Vlad Jurek, looks as though he's asking the chairman of stewards, Mr. Des Gleeson, if he could have a look at the videotape here for the first. And so we'll probably get the horses may go signal here from Des Gleeson. And this is a good thing that has been introduced recently. Jockeys had to decide when they were on the scales to protest or not to protest, but now they can have a look at the film and see if it shows any grounds.
It's the greatest thing of all time, I think, Pete. To be fair to everybody in racing, I mean, you should be able to go and have a look at the footage, let's see, because what a lot of people don't realise that it's very different to a jockey riding in a race than it is actually in the stewards' room. So you need to go and have a look at what the stewards are going to look at so that you can go and then fire a protest in if you think you got grounds.
The group race too, like this, Simon. I mean,
Yeah.
Third place is 13,500, fourth is 6,000. So
about-
it's a big turnout.
Ollie's been in the stewards' room quite a bit
Oh,
this
he lives in there.
past fortnight or so.
Yeah.
Caulfield Cup Day, Cox Plate Day.
Yeah, well, let's hope he's not in there for the remainder of the day. And just to confirm, the placings here in the first are 6 All Courage, 2 Gordo and 8 Road to Dance. The rider of Beresney, number 11, Vlad Jurek, having a look at the stewards' film now. There's no question that the winner shifted out a bit, All Courage, but he was a long way in front of Beresney. So if it's going to be anything, you'd think probably 4th against 3rd.
Might be. I just saw Road to Dance get held up from the leader dropping back, Pete, for a couple of strides early into the straight, and I'm just thinking Beresney might have been following Road to Dance.
Let's have a look at the head-on here, and let's identify these horses. And Beresney is in blue, red hoops, white sleeves. Now, there's the winner, All Courage, in the black colours. He's starting to run out. Now, Beresney, keep an eye out for him. Blue, red hoops, white sleeves and cap. And you can see Gordo in the pink colours on the outside. Now, that's Road to Dance in the yellow sleeves. And he's starting to, drifting just a little bit towards Beresney. No real contact there. It must have happened earlier, you would think.
I'm tipping that happened earlier at the top of the straight, Pete,
Yeah.
from Road to Dance. The leader dropped back on Road to Dance, which then shifted off the fence. Beresney might have been one out and just got squeezed up there for a stride or two. So that's probably where it happened, folks, back at the top of the straight.
All right.
There was no interference, was there?
No, absolutely no. So we might be able to check out the replays from the top of the straight in just a moment. But of course, it puts everything in a state of suspended animation here at Flemington, because not much can happen until we get the weight signal, Jeff.
That's true. The rug has gone on the horse, though.
Oh, yeah, well, we know that it's not going to be 4th against
Yes.
1st then.
Yes,
that's
that's
probably
right.
the indicator that they've got. Because they won't put the rug on the horse if he's going to be involved in a protest.
It's all a matter of wording in the
So-
steward's room too, this day and age, let's see, isn't it? You've got to be accurate and you've got to be precisely right on the stage where the interference happened, otherwise they throw it out as quick as they look at it.
Yeah, that's interesting, Simon, isn't it? If you protest it, say, well, there's Pete.
Looks like correct weight's up, let's see, according to the semaphore board in the middle of the course. So the weight signal, we haven't heard the announcement from Greg Miles on the course broadcast, but looks as though weight has been found correct here on the first for the numbers 6, 2 and 8. Just on the subject of protest, what about Scott Seamer when he went in? Didn't he let go with both barrels in the Caulfield Cup protest?
He was a little bit tense and a little bit emotional the day of the build-up and actually winning the race, then coming back and being told that... And his opinion, when he first said that he was going to be, there was going to be a protest, he said, what for? Couldn't even remember a thing. And when they went into the jockey's room and Damien said that you pushed him out and hampered him at the top of the straight, well, the comment was, you're clutching at straws, Damien. And this is a peanut farmer from Brisbane, Scotty Seamer.
Macadamia nuts, actually.
Macadamia Pete's, there you go, up against one of Australasia's greatest and probably the world's greatest, Damien Oliver.
Yes, certainly.
And told him he was clutching at straws.
Here are the tape dividends with Dan Malicki on the first.
2 All Courage, 23 and 6. New South Wales, 24.70, and Queensland, $23 for the win. Gordo, $1.40 the place on Super Tab, $1.60 Road to Dance, and the trifecta's $487. You'd be smiling in New South Wales, and if you're in Queensland, you were wishing you're in a southern state. The Quinella, $41, $39, and $27.70 respectively. Tim.
Thanks very much, Dan. Well, I can say that it was a cleaner, a skinner for the bookmakers in the first with All Courage getting up. Gordo was a big drifter and the money came for Road to Dance, and of course they both filled out the minor placings. In race 2 on the program, it is a 3-horse race here. They've gone for North Boy on the top, and also Storm Zero is the biggest tip on course. Most coat tuggers are saying that Storm Zero is the one, the Sydney horse, and King of Prussia. But at the moment, it's a race in 3, but I can tell you the biggest tip on course is for Storm Zero in the second.
Yeah, he's the one I like, Tim Gossage, in the second race here on the program, coming up at good each way odds of around about $4.60. North Boy, the favourite. He's the class in the race, Jen, coming back from the 1600 to the 1200 here.
Yes, I think that's his go-to, Peter. He likes the 1200, the short trip for him. He's a bit short for my liking. I put him in as a second choice, but on top I'm going to put on number 6, King of Prussia. I think he's at his right distance here as well at the 1200 metres. And for third, one at a bit of odds there, number 3, Spectatorial, who's actually worked quite well and has some blinkers on as well.
And a class horse 2 size produce winner as well. What did you come up with, Simon?
Pete, I'm going to stick with the Ascovale Stakes winner, North Boy, back here at Flemington. Down the straight here. He's been freshened up. Couldn't quite stay the Guineas trip over 1600 metres, so that'll do me.
OK, let's see.
I've gone for North Boy, Peter, because he's got the blinkers back on today, and I do think he'll jump straight to the lead, and I think he'll make him chase him all the way.
And for those of you who have backed the bottom 2 horses, we might just see if we can call up the tote figures for numbers 9 and 10 in race 2. We saw the first 8, so we'll have a look at the tote figures for numbers 9 and 10 in the second race on the program. There are the first 8. So North Boy at $2.80, Storm Zero $4.60, and King of Prussia at $5.10. And over the page, the all-important bottom 2. We will go to those, but there is a slight technical hitch at the moment. And so we'll come back to that. 464,000. There is Finbar, $14.40, and Run Just Run, if you like it, $24.80 for race 2 on the card. So that is the L'Oreal Paris plate. It is race 2 on the card, and it's coming up at high noon. Time for the presentations after the running of the first event, the William Inglis Carbine Club Stakes. And for the first time this carnival, our Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Rob Gaylard.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. What a wonderful way to start the 4 days of racing here at the VRC, and what a wonderful way to start it off with a winner. Of course, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Mr. Rod Johnson, representing William Inglis and the Carbine Club, to begin our presentation. And Mr. Johnson representing the Carbine Club. Rod?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the VRC committee, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Carbine Club, I'd like to thank the VRC for allowing the club to be part of the Melbourne Cup Carnival. It is a great honour. We have just seen an excellent race won by a pretty smart horse in All Courage. I hope the horse can go on and emulate other Group 1 winners of this race, namely Think Big, Emancipation, Saintly and Over. I now have pleasure in asking Mr. Reg Inglis, Managing Director of William Inglis and Son, the valued sponsor of this race and the Carbine Club, to make the presentation. Thank you, Reg.
Chairman, committee, ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed an honour to be here this afternoon or this morning to represent William Inglis and Son, the opening on the opening event of this and all group days of racing. A marvellous day and a showcase of Australian racing. My hearty congratulations go to the owners, the syndicate, a very successful one it is, and it's also a great honour to be sponsoring the Carbine Club Stakes here today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Rupert Lee, representing the owners, to get his presentation.
Thank you to Mr. Reg Inglis, and he'll be handing over the trophy to Rupert Lee, and also one of the part owners is VRC Chairman Andrew Ramsden. He'll be a happy man after the first. The second coming up at 12 noon on Amy Victoria Derby Day 2001. You're watching it around Australia on Network 10.
This has got to be one of the best production lines I've ever been involved in. The Tooheys Distribution Centre here at the nursery. And the good thing is, the members, when they got their tickets, could pre-order their beer. The boys here from the Rosstown Hotel, they're helping me get the beer out to their members. So I guess I'm Tim the Tooheys Terror. And I've got to tell you, the Tooheys Distribution Centre, well, it took me about 5.5 seconds to find.
Oh, gee, I hope that one's for us. Tim Bailey, we'll be catching up with him a little bit later on in the day. We've got 1 down, 8 to go here on Amy Victoria Derby Day, and I think it's just about time to thank the panel.
What for?
Well, it's actually a very good point. You haven't done anything yet, have you? You haven't tipped us a winner.
A couple of minor placings.
A couple of minor placings. But, Jen, I reckon it's probably just about time that we took our traditional walk down the path to glory, as Letzi likes to call it.
Yes, I think Letzi's named it that, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, looking forward to it, Pete. There'll
Let's
be some
enjoy it.
lovely horses to have a look at.
Yep, Simon Marshall, we'll see you later in the day before the Amy Victoria Derby.
Can't wait, Pete. Let's go.
And Letzi, it's time to get the shoehorn out and squeeze into those joddies because you're reunited with Banjo.
Yes, it's going to be good walking off here tonight, isn't it, after riding him all day?
You can hear his voice now, folks, but wait till he slips the jollies on. He's back into the jollies. Yeah, beauty, here we go.
Yeah, it'll sound like helium all over again. OK, that's enough from us. Let's get back to a bit of sanity as we head down to the Channel 10 marquee, where I'm sure it's all happening early in the day. And here is the very beautiful Sandra Sully. All yours, Sandy.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, it is absolutely building and delightful. Very exciting, as you can see. The weather is glorious. I don't need to tell anyone that. And as you can see, the crowds are definitely building. They wouldn't miss it for quids. We have a terrific array of competitions, interviews, guests, all sorts of things in store for you today. But we do want to mention to our home viewers, all this week we have a wonderful fashion competition for home viewers. You simply have to watch the coverage, choose your favourite design, and then follow the number and simply vote in your favourite designer. It's as simple as that. Some great prizes, $10,000 from Harvey Norman. So make sure you stay tuned with 10's coverage and keep an eye out for our fabulous fashion competition. Stay on 10. We have the Amy Victoria Derby coming up a little later in the day. Race 2 not so far away. This is Network 10's live and exclusive coverage of Amy Victoria Derby Day. Welcome back to Network 10. You're just having a look there at some of last year's entries in the Amy Derby Media Awards. It's an annual event. Amy has struck about $8,000 in prize money for these awards in radio, photography, print and television. And it's wonderful to be celebrating those that capture the very essence and beauty of this wonderful sport and wonderful week. So we're looking forward to catching up with some of the winners a little later in the week, and no doubt some of the entries will still be coming in because the Racing Carnival continues. Now, it's not just racing that is the fashion this week. Rather, that is the feature. What a faux pas. It is, of course, fashion as well, and one who is always ever so fashionable and finding some fashionable guests. Good morning, Lynn Talbot.
Well, Sandra, I must say you're looking particularly gorgeous in that Katie Davenport outfit. You would have looked the part here this morning in the L'Oreal marquee. Quite glamorous it is, and we enjoyed a beautiful morning tea co-hosted by L'Oreal and Vogue. And I have Vogue editor Kirsty Clements with me. What a lovely way to start Derby Day.
Absolutely beautiful. Beautiful sunshine standing under the blossom tree and all this fashion to look forward to and to watch.
Speaking of fashion, so many different looks we've seen already this morning. Is there a theme?
Well, I don't think there's one theme. I mean, obviously black and white is quite dominant because it's the traditional colours of Derby Day. But there's lots of colour and lots of different variations, from little suits to day dresses and even a few pants. So it depends on the individual.
Now tell me, you spent 4 years in Paris as a writer for Vogue. How do the manicured lawns of Flemington compare with those catwalks in Paris as a stage for fashion? A contrast, no doubt.
Yes, I think a very happy contrast, a very cheerful contrast. I think so beautiful beautiful colour and the roses and the gorgeous horses. It's such a nice backdrop. I think sometimes when you're watching those fashion parades in Paris where the models often look exhumed, it's not a very exuberant kind of feeling. So it's great to be here and to watch it.
Well, they're all looking so stunning. It is a great showcase for Australian fashion. A lot of effort is put in by so many designers and milliners. It's big business, isn't it?
It's huge business for the week. I mean, you're not just talking about clothes. I mean, not actual dresses. You're talking about hats, jewellery, shoes, bags, hair and makeup, hence the L'Oreal powder room here. So it's really big business and very important because it's an international showcase.
I believe Victorians alone spent $22 million last year, so probably they would have topped that this year. Lovely to chat to you. Enjoy the rest of the day. And there's a bit of a sense of excitement here because no doubt race 2 coming up is sponsored by L'Oreal, and that's probably why people are having a bit of a sip of bubbly behind us and enjoying it.
Thanks, Lynn. Yes, you're right. Fashion is big business, but on a day like today, the other hub of big business is, of course, the betting ring. Let's catch up with Tim Gossage with an update on race 2 and, of course, the Derby. Hi, Tim.
Good on you, Sandra. Thank you. Yes, the Derby. Well, at the moment, I can tell you that Ustinov is going to start an odds-on favourite, according to most bookmakers. But that race, of course, is still some time away. Let's turn our attention quickly to the second. Northboy opened up a short price favourite, been a big drifter, now shares favouritism with the best tipped horse on course today in Storm Zero. They share favouritism, but the best back runner at big odds at the moment, it's $14 on the tote. It's number 9 Finbar. Its price has tumbled about 6 points. You're getting about right now. I reckon if you keep backing it on the tote, it might come in. It's got about single figures here in the bookmakers ring. So Sandra, $1 each way from you on number 9 Finbar.
Thanks for the tip, Timmy. I'm not sure how I'll go, but I'll try and get there and get some money on it. But we appreciate all of the great advice, and of course we've got plenty more to come, so stay on 10 for our live and exclusive coverage of the Melbourne Cup Carnival. This is day 1, 4 days to go. Stay with us and enjoy. We'll be back right after the break. As you can see, a sea of colour and vibrancy, absolutely glorious weather, and the crowds are building. Fashionable folk are out and about strutting their stuff, enjoying this glorious weather that Victoria's turned on for us, as it seems to do most Derby days, and we're ever so grateful. We're in for a terrific day of not just fashion and fun, but also racing, of course, and race 2 is coming up, and Peter and Jenny are in the mounting yard. Petey, this is one of the first races that we get to see the horses down the famous Flemington Straight.
Yes, the first race for the carnival, Sandra, the first being a circle race, Jen, and here we are in our accustomed spot, and isn't it just wonderful to be here?
Is it ever, Pete? It's great to be back in this spot and watching all the beautiful colour around us as well, and these great horses.
Let's have a look at the totes for the second as they arrive up at the gates now for the L'Oreal Paris Plate. And there you can see the tote figures. Northboy, still the popular one at $3 on Super Tab, $3.10 in Queensland, $3.20 in New South Wales. Drifted out a little bit, out around 30 cents in fact. There has been some money for New Key. Storm Heroes trimmed up into about $4 now. King of Prussia's good each way odds. There's been a little bit of money at big odds for Ancient Prince. Chong Tong has also had some support at $21.20, and then we go over the page to Finbar and Run Just Run, still at good each way odds here in race 2. As I said, the runners are up at the start, and it is right up near Racecourse Road, Epsom Road, in fact, at the top of the straight, 1,200 metres, and they run down the famous course here. Now,